We we seem to be now set to start, and uh, if with all your permission, one can go ahead, please, to begin this session. Ms. Rima Ganguly Das, the Secretary, East Ministry of External Affairs, the Government of India. His Excellency Mr. Ung Sian, the Ambassador of the Royal Embassy of Cambodia. His Excellency Mr. Bunabe Chuanghom, the Ambassador of the Embassy of the Laos People Democratic Republic. His Excellency Mr. Moi Kuo Wong, the Ambassador of the Embassy of the Republic of Union of Myanmar. His Excellency Mr. Ramon S. Bhagat Singh, the Ambassador of the Embassy of the Philippines. His Excellency Ms. Patara Tong Tong, the Ambassador of the Royal Thai Embassy. Dr. Do Tan Hai, the Deputy Chief of Mission, Embassy of Vietnam. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning and a very warm welcome to all of you who have joined us for this very important and a very special session on fostering enterprise linkages for leveraging opportunities as part of the first time being held Indo-ASEAN Business Summit. And it's really a pleasure and honor to welcome the Secretary East of the Government of India from the Ministry of External Affairs, Ms. Rima Ganguly Das, for really gracing this occasion, and very importantly, for her phenomenal, if I can say, work that she has been doing in the recent past in enhancing India's attractiveness as trade and an investment destination throughout the ASEAN region. And it's been her leadership which has really resulted in making this maiden summit very effective. And I'll really want to mention that the Secretary has been extremely encouraging to the entire team from the Ministry of External Affairs and the Government of India and the CII, which has been working on this project. My warm welcome, a very warm welcome to all the esteemed ambassadors, excellencies from the Indo-ASEAN region who are joining this summit and who have also very proactively worked towards building trade and investment relations with India. CII has been working with all your missions, and we are always very encouraged by your initiatives for enhancing our bilateral economic engagement. Excuse me. Before we start getting into the discussions today, I'm really happy to share that this summit has received some very good response from both the Indian as well as the ASEAN sides. And if we have today 9 ministers who would be participating in this from ASEAN who would be participating and would share their thoughts during the next 2 days. Besides our ministers from India, and in addition, we have 31 Indian speakers and 25 very eminent speakers from the ASEAN countries. And I'm so delighted to share that we while in this session, we have the gracious and the very kind presence of 6 heads of missions from ASEAN. In the succeeding sessions, the one immediately after this, we will have 10 of our heads of missions engaging in with us. So in terms of participation, what we have over 500 Indian and 300 ASEAN delegates registered who are participating. And so for a maiden version of the event, we are indeed very delighted with this very strong and an overwhelming response. And I'd like to really, once again, thank the phenomenal leadership that we have seen from the Government of India and from the MEA to make this happen. And it was a pleasure for CII to be working in this project. Ladies and gentlemen, India's relationship with ASEAN has indeed evolved very rapidly over the years through very strong historical, cultural, and of course, social affiliations. And the ASEAN bloc with disparate countries presents quite strong opportunities for scaling up in India-ASEAN ties even further. And with the COVID-19 pandemic changing the world's geopolitical landscape and offering ways for countries to explore new geostrategic interests. The ASEAN really today offers a unique space for India to bolster uh, the already existing partnership that I just spoke about. So facilitating greater economic dialogue and exploring new initiatives with the ASEAN uh, really offers ways to strengthen this existing partnership that will facilitate the global economic recovery through much greater cooperation, economic cooperation in diverse areas between us, and by also, of course, boosting trade and investment. So given this, I just wanted to take the opportunity to set the context, to set the uh, ball rolling, so to say, and highlight five very key areas of which have potential for enhancing greater business linkages between our region. First, if I can talk about as success of businesses really driven by talent and skills of its workers, building a productive workforce with a very strong focus on education policies, skill development, and training programs must be one very, very important and a key area. Second, the performance of individual companies, firms in the country, especially the MSMEs, the small and the micro and the medium enterprises, is very key for higher productivity and inclusive development of a region. So strengthening the small and the medium sort of companies, as well as the MSME cooperation between the region, that's very critical for fostering business linkages and facilitating stronger business development as we go along. Therefore, supportive mechanisms and greater investments would really be required in areas such as talent and skills, innovation, and of course, digital technologies, improved management, access to finance, and of course, encouraging entrepreneurship, and some very healthy business dynamics. So this in turn, of course, will also help strengthen business services for our mid-sized companies, for our small companies, and enhance strong collaborations and to raise awareness, create opportunities for linkages of partnership between such size firms and even larger firms, both domestically as well as internationally. Third, I just wanted to also mention that expediting the discussions to determine the scope of review of the ASEAN India FTA, the Free Trade Agreement, and closer engagement from both sides would really contribute in making the FTA more equitable, user-friendly, and trade facilitative, which would greatly benefit all of us, and addressing the concerns such as rules of origin or non-tariff barriers and greater market access, which India has already pitched for, would benefit exporters and also facilitate stronger supply chain connectivity. We have a very interesting session on this scoping exercise tomorrow, which is a review of the Indo-ASEAN trade agreements, business agenda for scoping exercise. And I really welcome all dignitaries present in this very august panel to kindly consider this important session. The fourth point I just wanted to mention was with the COVID-19 pandemic really reshaping the global digital landscape, the role of digital technologies really cannot be underscored more. And with the ASEAN having the potential to become one of the top digital economies in the world, the scope of the digital opportunities is indeed very huge for investors as well as for businesses. So there is a significant potential for India and the ASEAN for stepping up collaboration in this particular space to really reap mutual benefits, as also creating digital solutions to find coordinated responses to global problems. Finally, creating a conducive environment through close cooperation for rebuilding, deepening, and expanding the Indian ASEAN supply chain. That will not only facilitate better business growth and higher trade and investment, but we strongly feel that it will also aid global recovery process. So facilitating greater connectivity and logistics, building a robust infrastructure, and enhancing digital technology, they all are very, very critical pillars in this context. I just wanted to mention these points because much of it would be discussed between today and tomorrow, and this really is contained in the agenda of our meeting. And I really am so glad and honored to see such an august presence and phenomenal participation that we have at all levels, from business, from the government, uh, and other stakeholders who are with us, and they will be with us for today and tomorrow. With that, I'd like to invite the distinguished speakers of the day for giving their inputs and giving their insights. And I'll start with, again, as I mentioned, the person who has been really leading and guiding this important initiative, which is being held for the first time. I invite Ms. Riva Das Ganguly, the Secretary East of the MEA, to give her address.
Thank you, Mr. Banerjee. I hope I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, yes, clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm absolutely delighted to join you all today at the ASEAN India Business Summit. I extend my appreciation to the Confederation of Indian Industries, CII, for taking this initiative to organize this business summit in collaboration with the Ministry of External Affairs. We just heard from Mr. Banerjee that the response to this event has been absolutely overwhelming, cutting across sectors from business, from policymakers, and all other stakeholders. This is really a great achievement, and my congratulations to CII for bringing all the stakeholders together and for the first such event. Let me also extend cordial greetings and warm welcomes to all ambassadors and high commissioners of ASEAN countries. It's good to see all of you. And some of our high commissioners and ambassadors also I find on the screen. A very warm welcome to all of you. The India-ASEAN strategic partnership stands on a strong foundation of our shared geographical, historical, and civilizational ties, and it forms a central pillar of our Act East policy. Our multifaceted partnership is driven by our common strategic priorities of promoting peace, security, stability, and prosperity in the region. India and ASEAN share the pluralistic nature of our societies, encompassing major religions of the world and a wealth of diverse cultures. This affinity constitutes a special asset for the further development of our relationship. The COVID-19 pandemic and its fallout pose the most serious challenge to policymakers in a generation and more. Governance structures, national and international, have been and are being subjected to unforeseen stress. While the pandemic has posed unprecedented challenges, it has opened new vistas for ASEAN-India cooperation. The ASEAN members have responded to it purposefully, individually, as well as collectively. These challenges have also brought ASEAN and India even closer, as we have extended mutual support to each other during these times of stress. The present global situation provides an immediate context for closer regional economic cooperation between us. Economic and trade cooperation form an important pillar of ASEAN-India strategic partnership. In 1992, India's total trade with ASEAN was less than 5 billion. And now, 30 years later, ASEAN has become India's fourth largest trading partner. India-ASEAN bilateral trade has reached an all-time high of US dollars 96.79 billion in 2018-19. Of course, due to the impact of COVID, it was a little less at 78.9 billion in 2021. These figures, however, do not do justice to the potential for trade that exists between India and ASEAN. It is important that going forward we work towards greater trade and economic cooperation between our two sides, and an important endeavor in this regard would be the early review of the ASEAN-India Trade in Goods Agreement, ITICA. We should look at completing the process expeditiously to make the agreement trade facilitative, user-friendly with contemporary and streamlined customs and regulatory procedures. I'm very glad to know from Mr. Banerjee that you will be having a special session on the scoping exercise, and I'm sure that will be very helpful. Another focus area to strengthen our trade and economic relations would be enhancing the two-way flow of information between India and ASEAN. The various sectoral dialogue mechanisms that exist between India and ASEAN are an excellent conduit for the same. We need to look at conventional as well as innovative mechanisms to promote our trade and economic cooperation. The policymakers in India and ASEAN must work together to create a conducive environment that would encourage our business communities to build on the complementarities between India and ASEAN economies. Together, we have to find ways of accelerating information and expertise exchange, as well as awareness of opportunities in various sectors for our business community. This would also require active relations and cooperation between our chambers of commerce and regular exchange of business delegations. Effective use of existing ASEAN India mechanisms in this regard, like ASEAN India Business Council, set up in 2003, would go a long way in promoting business and networking. Our countries have benefited from the vast expansion of trade, investment, and economic cooperation in the wake of globalization. But there is a need for this globalization led development to be equitable across countries. These socio-economic goals can be promoted through sub-regional cooperation, which pays special attention to the needs of less developed areas in a region. In this context, India attaches the greatest importance to the initiative for ASEAN integration. We have launched various community-oriented short gestation projects in line with this initiative under our sub-regional Mekong-Ganga cooperation, which is one of the oldest sub-regional mechanisms bringing together Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Thailand, Vietnam, and India. Connectivity is also a vital area which directly affects the pace of trade and economic relations between our two countries. ASEAN and India share land and maritime borders, and there is great potential for enhancing connectivity through land, air, and the sea. We are implementing various transport connectivity initiatives in the region, such as the IMT Trilateral Highway and the Kaladan Multimodal Project. While there is good air connectivity between India and a few ASEAN countries such as Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, we are making efforts to improve air connectivity with others in the region as well. In 2019, Indigo and Vietjet started air services between New Delhi, Kolkata, and Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City. We envision connectivity with the region in very broad terms, including physical, economic, people-to-people connectivity. We are making efforts to enhance connectivity in the digital and cyber domain as well. India has also announced a line of credit of $1 billion for physical and digital connectivity. These connectivity projects offer a great opportunity for our businesses. I would like to conclude by saying that ASEAN India Business Summit today offers our business leaders a chance to explore the opportunities offered by robust ASEAN India relations for growth of trade and investment in the post-pandemic era. I hope that in 2022, the 30th year anniversary of ASEAN India relations, we would witness further strengthening of ASEAN India business and trade relations. India wishes to participate in the growth story of ASEAN, and we invite all of ASEAN to participate in ours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Secretary East, for really setting the agenda for the two-day summit. It's really very some important points that you have mentioned, and I'm sure that much of it would be deliberated during the course of our summit. And thank you very much once again for joining us here and really giving us such an important and a very good start for this two-day forum. With that, may I now move to our Ambassador of the Royal Embassy of Cambodia, His Excellency, Mr. Ung Sian.
Her Excellency Riwadas Ganguly, Secretary, East Ministry of External Affairs. Excellency colleague ambassadors, High Commissioner of ASEAN country, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me privilege and honor to participate in the Indo-Asian Business Forum and Expo. I highly appreciate the Ministry of External Affairs and the CII for organizing such an important event via virtual platform today. I would like to express my sincere thanks to CII for giving me this opportunity to share views with my colleagues on the topic of fostering enterprise linkage for leveraging opportunity. Prior to the pandemic of COVID-19, trade relations between ASEAN and India have improved significantly. The development is contributed by India Look East and Act East policy, ASEAN and India Free Trade Agreement now under review, and other mechanisms. To tap more potential and opportunities for economic growth in the regions, fostering enterprise linkage is very important. As you may know, enterprise linkage can potentially contribute to the growth of local enterprises and economic innovations. Linkage with other firms help SMEs to learn new and better production methods and can help to increase SMEs' employment. It also promotes a transfer of technology, resources, and skill to local enterprise, which will enhance their productivity. In this regard, please allow me to share my view in enhancing enterprise linkage within our both region. To promote this linkage, our region should create a conducive investment environment. A conducive investment climate creates opportunities and incentives for private enterprises, both foreign and local, to increase their level of productive investment and innovation. There are many factors which may involve making a conducive investment climate, such as low tax, investment incentive, physical and soft infrastructure, human resources, and law enforcement. Cambodia has tried its best to create a conducive investment climate by building more infrastructure and fostering and offering more investment incentive. Regarding the incentive, Cambodia is now in process of amending new investment, which will offer more incentive for business and investment. Furthermore, Cambodia has signed free trade agreement with China and will soon sign this agreement with Korea, while Cambodia is also in negotiation with India for this kind of agreement. Enhance the implementation of the ASEAN-India Trade ASEAN-India Trade in Good Agreement, ASEAN-India Trade in Service Agreement, as well as Investment Agreement will help reduce and eliminate tariff and non-tariff barrier and create a conducive investment climate. Information barriers can limit possible linkage among enterprises in the region. Hence, we should create and enhance a single platform where we can share helpful information for enterprise linkage. Business matching can also be a useful tool for promoting the linkage. Digital connectivity is one of the strategic areas of Master Plan of ASEAN Connectivity 2025, which aim at supporting an adoption of technology, financial access through digital technology, and improving data management in ASEAN member states. To achieve this, we need strong support from ASEAN dialogue partners, including India, and participation from private sectors. Coronavirus pandemic may provide a rare opportunity for the use of technology in business, which has created new economic activity. The number of internet users in ASEAN will continue to surge. I believe that this is an opportunity for India to tap in this area by sharing its experience in creating an integrated interoperable system for digital payment, which allow for cross-border transfer. This could be beneficial as it may allow for seamless fund transfer across border and allow fintech company to expand their operation. Enterprise linkage with Indian company will offer opportunity for technology transfer to ASEAN member states also. This will help create a more favorable condition for enterprise connectivity, for enterprise connection in our regions. We should take measures to enhance SME capability and meet the requirement of transnational cooperation. We can also train business startup to adopt technology and enhance human resources to meet a requirement on transnational cooperation. So for Cambodia and India, I would like to request as follows. First, both sides should expedite and sign the bilateral investment treaty as soon as possible. And we also consider request India to consider Cambodia request to sign a bilateral free trade agreement between India and Cambodia. And third, we should convene as soon as possible the first working group of the first joint working group on trade and investment as soon as possible. I wish to conclude my remark here and wish the Indo-ASEAN Business Summit Expo a great success. I thank you.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you very much, Excellency, for your observations and for your points. And now, may I move on to and invite the Ambassador of the Embassy of the Lao People's Democratic Republic, His Excellency, Mr. Buname Chuangkom.
Their Excellency Secretary Viva Kampli Das, Their Excellency ASEAN Ambassador colleagues, distinguished moderator, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. Let me begin by thanking CII and MEA, the government of India, for organizing such a timely and usefully virtual event after recent important virtual meetings of 18 ASEAN-India foreign ministers and ASEAN-India economic ministers. ASEAN-India has a long-time partnership. Its relationships has been evolved and developed from time to time. In 2012, if I may call, bilateral relationship has been upgraded to strategic partnership. Since then, a new momentum has been acquired with the announcement of Act East policy by India and with an intention to upscaling its engagement with the ASEAN member states. Next year, ASEAN and India will celebrate their 30th anniversary with India's proposals to announce the year 2022 as the ASEAN-India Friendship Year and celebrate 10th year anniversary of strategic partnership. During the current pandemic situation, we appreciate India's assistance extended to ASEAN in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, particularly the contribution of $1 million to the COVID-19 ASEAN Response Fund. ASEAN and India should continue to enhance cooperation in the area of public health, particularly the pharmaceutical area, where India has great potentials through joint research and development and production of vaccines to ensure affordable and equitable access to vaccines for people in our region. With regard to our events today, Indo-ASEAN business over the theme Act East policy in the post-COVID world. As many of you know that India is our seventh largest trading partners and one of the largest sources of FDI, and ASEAN is India's second largest trading partners in 2020. We also have witnessed the stability of trade relations between TUs in 2020 to 2021, despite pandemic challenges. First of all, during this difficult time of remaining active pandemic crisis, both sides should further deepen taken collective actions in mitigating the economic impact of the pandemic and ensuring resilient supply chains in the region. At the same time, both sides should continue to provide opportunities to our industries to develop bilateral economic relationship to higher levels by further strengthening cooperation in the areas of trade and investment, especially encourage the private sector's enterprises from both sides to greater utilize the benefits from ASEAN-India Free Trade Agreement to reach its full potentials in order to create favorable environment for promoting MSMEs, local communities, and large farms interactions to expand the value and volume of trade, thus contributing to truly regional economic recovery effort and growth. Even more importantly, to pursue India's Act East policy in the post-COVID world on the tangible manner, we look forward to the timely completion of India-Myanmar-Thailand territorial highway with extension to Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam, as well as the conclusion of the ASEAN-India Air Transport Agreement. This completion will, on one significant hand, push the government industry partnerships to be connected into concrete business engagement. May I take this opportunity to wish you be safe from COVID. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Excellency. May I now invite upon our next speaker and the Ambassador of the Embassy of the Republic of the Union of Myanmar, His Excellency Mr. Moku Yong.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Her Excellency, Ms. Riba Das Ganguly, Secretary East MEA, Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General, Confederation of Indian Industry, and His Excellency ASEAN Ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I have the honor to participate in the section of the Indo-ASEAN Business Summit, and I would like to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to the Confederation of Indian Industry and MEA for inviting me to this event. As you have known, the ASEAN-India Strategic Partnership has been gaining momentum with the announcement of India's Act East policy in the 12th ASEAN Summit in 2014. At the 17th ASEAN-India Summit held on 12 November 2020, the leaders discussed the promotion of the strategic partnership and means to increase maritime cooperation, trade and investment, connectivity, as well as cooperation in science, technology, and innovation. The ASEAN leaders acknowledged India's contribution towards promoting peace and stability in the region and welcomed India's support to ASEAN centrality. The leaders also welcomed the adoption of the new ASEAN-India Plan of Action for 2021-2025. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, the economic relations between Myanmar and India have been mostly governed by private sectors, and cooperation and collaboration between both governmental and private sectors have been gaining momentum. There were several occasions on business summits, seminars, exhibitions, and interaction jointly organized by private associations from both countries in the past. At the institutional level, the Union of Myanmar Federation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry, UMFCCI, and its affiliated associations have developed links with many Indian business communities like FICCI, CII, and BGCCI, etc. The UMFCCI also has an understanding of cooperation with the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Northeast India Federation of Investment and Trade, and Southern Indian Chamber of Commerce. The setting up of India-Myanmar Chamber of Commerce, IMCC, in Yangon in March 2017 has enhanced the trade and investment activities of Indian companies in Myanmar, as well as strategic partnership between business communities from both sides. In association with Indian Embassy in Yangon, IMCC has also been holding regular knowledge-sharing programs on various topics and events where high-ranking government officials are invited to interact with members of IMCC. In this regard, I would like to express my sincere thanks to His Excellency Mr. Saurabh Kumar, Ambassador of India, for kind support and cooperation. Since the trading of pulses and beans plays a crucial role in bilateral trade between the two countries, Overseas Agro-Traders Association, primarily composed of Indian companies, has also been established in Myanmar to foster the smooth trade flows of pulses and other agricultural products from Myanmar to India. In addition, India Pulses and Grains Association recently signed a MOU with the India-Myanmar Chamber of Commerce to work toward to establish a framework for cooperation, especially in the pulses sector. Moreover, I am aware that a draft of cooperation framework agreement to be signed between Myanmar Trade Promotion Organization and India Trade Promotion Organization (ITPO) has been under discussed as G2G engagement. Currently, the consignment of pulses are now being transported from Myanmar to Indian ports through coastal shipping lines amidst container shortage and other logistic challenges. This can be seen as an outcome of cooperation and linkages between concerned business communities. In this context, I do believe that the fostering of enterprise linkages will enhance the business opportunity to sustainable growth and development, not only in the region and also for Myanmar and India. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is evident that geographical proximity, strong cordial political and cultural linkages pave the way for the greater economic integration between ASEAN and India. Since the government of India has laid down the Act East policy, it is now implementing through northeast region of the country as a gateway to the ASEAN. I am confident that being a neighborhood, Myanmar is the best position to play a crucial role in bridging India and other ASEAN member states for a closer economic tie. Myanmar has made all the possible efforts for liberalizing the rules and regulation to elevate the economic integration with regional as well as global economy. In conclusion, it is a matter of great pride that the successful outcomes of Indo-ASEAN Business Summit would strengthen deeper friendship, understanding, and closer collaboration for economic integration and win-win partnership. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Excellency. I'll now turn to our next speaker, and that is His Excellency Mr. Ramon S. Bhagat, the Ambassador of the Embassy of the Philippines.
Thank you very much, Mr. Banerjee. Pleasant day to everybody, most especially to the officials of the MEA, headed by Secretary or Minister Jai Shankar and friend of ASEAN, Secretary East Das. Our friends and organizers from CII, thank you very much for hosting this event. My distinguished colleagues and friends of India and the Philippines. India and the ASEAN strategic partnership is based on their shared rich historical, geographical, and cultural heritage. The ASEAN group is the nodal center of India's Act-East policy since the very beginning. There is a close similarity between India's Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative and the ASEAN's outlook on Indo-Pacific. India and the ASEAN firmly believe that a cohesive and responsive ASEAN is essential for security and growth for all in the region. In line with this, promoting all types of connectivity initiatives between India and the ASEAN, such as physical, economic, social, digital, financial, and maritime, is a top priority for both India and ASEAN. During this summit, it is my hope that India and the ASEAN member countries explore ways to increase exchanges between them, and particularly in the field of business. For our part here, our embassy has always been actively engaged with the business sector in India, not only to promote Philippine-India trade, but also to promote the entire ASEAN region. Of course, this is with the indispensable help of the Indian embassy in the Philippines, headed by Ambassador Kumaran. Before the pandemic, Philippine Embassy met with business representatives in your various cities to promote trade and investment opportunities in our country. These meetings were held to jumpstart an informal forum for Indian companies operating in the Philippines to have an open line of communication with them, to know their concerns, and to find ways to address these concerns, and ultimately to encourage them to diversify and or expand their business in the Philippines. Of course, we all know that everything changed after the pandemic. COVID-19 has significantly affected societies and economies around the world and will permanently reshape our world as it persists to unfold. As things improve, however, with the development and rollout of vaccines, and India is a major player here, and other medical technologies that are addressing and will address this situation, there will be better opportunities for engagement and the opening up of economies. Since the pandemic started last year, the Philippines and Indian government view this crisis as an opportunity for closer ties. President Duterte and Prime Minister Modi affirmed the key roles of the Philippines and India play in the Indo-Pacific region in combating COVID-19 pandemic. President Duterte recognizes India's leading role as a global producer and source of affordable and accessible medicine, and commended Prime Minister Modi's for allowing India's export of pharmaceutical products to the Philippines. And our president also said that this decision demonstrated India's commitment to cooperation and good neighborliness. And for his part, President Modi assured the supply of affordable medicines and COVID-19 pharmaceutical products to the Philippines, and that India is ready to extend all possible cooperation to the Philippines. At present, Philippines and India are working together in strengthening their cooperation areas of pharmaceuticals and information technology. As we all know, the Philippines sources critical inputs for the production of essential goods in the pharmaceutical sector, such as the APIs. At present, India has a strong presence in the Philippines with major companies having liaison offices to promote their products. India pharma companies are encouraged to have their R&D facilities in the Philippines that would employ Filipinos or go into joint venture with local pharma companies that would result in meaningful technology transfer. Of course, this is not exclusive to the Philippines, as my other colleagues in ASEAN would also like India to have their headquarters in their countries. And what's wrong with that? You have 650 million people in ASEAN, which is half of the population of India. The Philippines, through the efforts of the embassy, is also keen in following the Indian government's vaccine rollout. In particular, as a model to address the pandemic, we take note of and get inspiration from India's processes and logistics in its rollout. But in particular, the COWIN app that monitors the progress of the vaccine drive, as well as the capacity building and training on how to effectively administer the vaccine. We appreciate Prime Minister Modi's initiative to share this application with the rest of the world. In the information technology sector, the Philippines and India's collaboration in the BPO sector has grown exponentially in the last few years. Several Indian companies have already set up their BPO operations in the Philippines, and these include companies like Wipro, TCS, L&T Infotech, Innodata, Induja, HIGS, Tech Mahindra, etc., employing thousands of Filipinos. High-end technology with an uninterrupted high-speed internet connection to power a nation has become a necessity in the midst of this pandemic. The Philippines offers state-of-the-art telecommunication facilities and adequate uninterrupted power supply. Specialized IT zones offer ready-to-occupy offices and production facilities, computer security, and building monitoring systems, as well as complete office services. Since 2010, the Philippines has been the leading voice BPM services provider, surpassing all other markets. Today, the industry has proven its ability to evolve by expanding to multi-tower and higher value services that have attracted investors and locators globally. Offering more complex and digitally enhanced non-voice services, the Philippines IT BPM industry has transformed into an omni-channel delivery model and continues to provide niche business process services to various industries. The Philippines aims for an ICT sector policy environment that will promote the broad market-led development of the ICT sectors, a level playing field, partnership between the public and private sectors, strategic alliance with foreign investors, and balanced investments. India is an important trading partner and one of the centers of economic activities in the region. And we feel and we believe that the Philippines is the most strategic partner in Southeast Asia for India's investment and expansion of its research and development and ICT industries, given its growing strength in innovation, young and skilled population, competitive advantage in the English language, and current economic reforms. The Philippines is committed to ensure continuous work and collaboration in strengthening our business and economic relations at this difficult time. We renew our commitment for enhancing our trade and investment relations and economic cooperation through the Joint Working Group on Trade and Investment. Likewise, the Philippines and India are also looking forward for the signing of the following MOUs agreements. Agreement on the protection and promotion of investments on bilateral investment treaty. The MOU on cooperation in the field of information and communication technology. The MOU on cooperation in the field of medical products regulation. And the MOU in the area of cybersecurity. Again, I have to emphasize this, the Philippines targets to become the regional headquarters of the ASEAN in the areas of the pharmaceutical and information technology. The Philippines possesses several competitive advantages such as quality manpower and resources, strategic business location, liberalized and business-friendly economy, developing infrastructure for global growth, hospitable lifestyle, unlimited business opportunities, and various investment incentives program. Now, on the title of the summit in fostering enterprise linkages for leveraging opportunities. Together with the Indian Embassy in Manila, we have attended the 20th ASEAN India Joint Cooperation Committee last June of 2020, as well as the 5th Joint Commission on Bilateral Cooperation on November 6, 2020. The Philippines is keen to pursue deeper trade and investment relations with India under the bilateral track, notwithstanding the ASEAN-India Free Trade Agreement. Both sides can explore the feasibility of a bilateral FTA to entrench its strategic economic partnership. We envy Vietnam for their special friendship relationship that they have with India. Last April 2021, I delivered an address at the India Southeast Asia Day. The event aimed to discuss the current economic relations and projects to strengthen links with Southeast Asia and ways of enhancing regional engagement. We joined the virtual conference titled Business Conferences on Marine Fisheries and Aquaculture, organized by the Embassy of India in Manila and the Philippine Chamber of Agriculture and Food. And this particular seminar has become more relevant with the ASEAN Andaman mini summit that we conducted last week. And we strongly feel and propose that Andaman become your gateway to Southeast Asia, considering that it is geographically near to at least 3 ASEAN countries than to the mainland of India. We also participated in the India ASEAN Engineering Partnership Summit, which was held over a virtual platform last August 2021. In order to maintain the positive momentum during the COVID-19, EEPC India took the initiative and provided a virtual platform for the engineering fraternity and organized interactive sessions with Indian missions abroad, B2B meetings with overseas delegates. This is very important because it goes down now to actual B2B meetings with businessmen. After government sets the policy, it's up to the business sector to take advantage of it. And these B2B meetings we deem will become fruitful in the years to come. So there were virtual exhibitions, vendor development and sourcing needs, technology sessions with top business institutes and top government organizations. Finally, I am happy to report that the Philippines and India just signed last week a new and modernized air services agreement to further strengthen connectivity and mutual economic growth between our two countries. This was signed between our Department of Transportation and the Indian Ministry of Civil Aviation and the Indian Embassy in Manila. So the here and now gets in the way of our best laid plans. The COVID pandemic has been creating new paradigms, collaborative responses, and economic recovery plans for both the Philippines and India. But the pandemic, as with all the challenges faced by humanity, can be overcome. Now with the promise of technologies that will end the pandemic, and as countries open up, everything is achievable through engagement, better living, robust health, and a prosperous and inclusive economy for all. Mabuhay and namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Excellency. Thank you for that very informative speech of yours and a very useful inputs and very important to set this again agenda. May I now invite our next speaker, the Ambassador of the Royal Thai Embassy, His Excellency Ms. Wong Tong.
Good morning, Sri Livadas Kangula, the Secretary East, Sri Dandajit Banjari, Director General CII, and my distinguished colleagues, ambassadors of Cambodia, Laos, CPR, Myanmar, the Philippines, and also colleagues from Vietnam. Ladies and gentlemen, indeed, it is my great honor and pleasure to join all of you this morning for this gathering. And at this outset, let me also allow me to first congratulate the CII in partnership with MEA for organizing this event. For us, this event will give a much needed platform for India and its ASEAN corporate partners to engage in trade and investment collaborations during the COVID-19 pandemic. And my remark today will focus on the ASEAN advantage and Thailand in the opportunity for the business and the economic cooperations in the post-COVID-19. So let me share with my previous ASEAN colleagues on some of the highlights of the ASEAN advantage in the futures. First, of course, that you know that we have the total population is about 650 million people. And also we combined the GDPs of 2.8 trillion US dollar. And our annual growth rate is projected to about over 5.5% per year. And of course, that it is forecasted that ASEAN will overtake the EU and Japan to become the fourth largest economy in the world by 2050. And this will be only behind China, India, and the United States. And this projected growth has been supported by the fact that we will be the favorable demographics. Right now, we already have about 50% of our ASEAN populations who are under age of 35. And by 2030, we expect that ASEAN's middle class will be more than double in size from 135 million today to about 134 million, or about 51% of the populations. And by then, the domestic consumption, which takes roughly around 60% of ASEAN's GDP currently, is expected to double. And the population as well expected to reach about 700 to 723 million in 2030. And so that we expect that we will be one of the large workforce. We think that ASEAN will place the world's third largest workforce, trailing only China and India. And we will be the large consumer market, according to the World Economic Forum's report that come out in June 2021. Over the next 10 years, ASEAN will see as the additional 140 million consumers, representing 16% of the world's new consumers. So at this point, I'm confident that these figures and key factors will be clearly attract the investors to ASEAN and Southeast Asian regions, and which of course, including the investor from India. And come to the impacts of the COVID-19 to the ASEAN. Like any other countries in the world, the pandemic has provided severe impacts to ASEAN economy during the past 2 years. Some sectors have been struggles, especially on the hospitality and services, SME, and the retail manufacturing. And also the FDI flows in ASEAN have been also slowed down, about a decrease of the 25%. But we see that there still remains a bright spot, and in the midst of this economic slowdown in ASEAN on the FDI, in most of ASEAN countries, investment have either increased or still remain unchanged. Overall, climbing up 5%, increasing in the intra-ASEAN shares of FDI in the regions from 12% to 17%. And despite of this drop, ASEAN remains a popular investment destination, with its shares of the global FDI increasing from 11.9% in 2019. It's come up to 13.7% in 2020. So this is a good sign for the investor to look into ASEAN market. And when we talk about ASEAN and India, I just like to share my point of view with a previous speaker as well as Secretary, is that in the midst of our efforts to regain the economic strength in the post-COVID world, we believe that India and ASEAN, as both rapidly advancing economies and with the large scales of skilled populations and growing service industries and vibrant manufacturing sectors, we must work together and closer bilaterally and regionally. With the combines of the economy, which approximately will be about 5.8 trillion US dollar, there is a significant potential for enhancing trade and investment partnership. And for Thailand, let me talk about my country, that as we are the members of ASEAN, Thailand has contributed a large part and shares of the ASEAN economic growth, as the upper middle income countries with the populations of the 66 million and as the second largest economies in Southeast Asia. And of course, with the purchasing power of over 246 billion US dollar. And the strengths of Thailand that I like to highlight in the ASEAN regional structure is that we are well connected both domestically and also internationally through the extensive transportation network, road, rail, sea, and air. And this link is also connects us with the other fast-growing neighbor countries in ASEAN, including Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and of course down to Malaysia, Singapore. And this could be the hub that connects ASEAN and India. And the country also offers easy access to ASEAN, not only by the land route, but also through the 6 deep seaports. So Thailand also possesses the excellent digital connectivities and also the highly skilled labor force. So for the economic opportunity between Thailand and India, these facts together with the Thai government's comprehensive policies and the investment incentive should make the country ideal for India business sector to look into invest in Thailand. And for India Thailand Connect, I like to share that apart from the close tie that we already know that have deep for over 2,000 years and have smooth and friendly relations, we also the other factor that conducive to the closer economic partnership between our two countries is the connectivity, especially between the north of Thailand and the Indian northeast regions. Between the south also that we cross through the maritime route. So both countries have undertaken various initiatives to advance the connectivity infrastructure towards one another. The key initiatives such as the Indian-Myanmar trilateral highway, which have been mentioned earlier by Secretary East. This could be connect more in Manipur in the northeastern regions of India to Mysore province in Thailand through Myanmar. And this will, of course, that connect India to the other parts of the ASEAN, especially on the east. And other ones is the linkage between the Ramon deep seaport in Thailand in the south and Indian port in the south as well, namely the Chennai, Kolkata, and Visakhapatnam. So once all this completed, it would link countries in the regions closer and help boost trade, commerce, tourism, and likewise people-to-people relations. And for Thailand, two plans as termed by the famous consultant firm McKinsey for our next normal. Thailand is ready to enhance partnership in building back better and more resilience with other partners, and including India. So what we do, we plan first through promoting what we call biocircular green economy or BCG for a balanced, resilient, and sustainable recovery from the pandemic. And the BCG model has been conceptualized to underpin Thailand's 4.0 policy as a strategy to drive economic and social development and to identify direction for investment and policy over the next 6 years from this year to 2027. The model focuses on the 4 strategies. First, applying biotechnology to enhance agricultural and food products. Second, invest in medical and pharmaceutical technology. And third, promoting bioenergy, biomaterials, and biochemicals, including renewable energies from waste, biomass, and biogas. And the last one is sustainable tourism. And for the government, the new initiative on the BCG sector is also expected to be about 23 billion US dollar in 2026, which will be double from this year. And on the investment side as well, the private sector also increased to 30% from 20% during the period to to promote the BCG sector. And I believe that for this fact, industrial sector and industrial leaders in India can tap into this initiative, made important by the COVID-19 pandemic, to spirit of the cooperation in wellness and ecotourism, hospitality, human resources development through investment in the biotechnology, which will enable us for the sustainable development. And the second initiative that Thailand like to promote for the Build Back Better is the promoting of the Eastern Economic Corridor, or EEC, in the eastern provinces of Thailand, which namely Chonburi, Rayong, and Chachoengsao, to support the country's Industry 4.0 infrastructures and transformation. And the EEC is new designed area to integrate infrastructure, utilities, and connectivity nodes. It offers huge potential for Indian business sector to invest in Thailand, especially in its 12 targeted new engine of growth S-curve industry. Some of them are the automobiles, smart electronics, medical tourism, robotics, digital medical services, and defense. And among these, I believe that India already possesses the know-how and expertise and could contribute to this initiative. So it can also be reapplied to fill in the supply chain gaps in the commended Amanitva Bharat or self-sufficient, self-reliance India, which is initiated by the Indian government. So to conclude, why Make in India is the heart of the transformations of Indian economy. Make in Thailand by India, for India, ASEAN, and the world may also be an option for India business to achieve its growth at the regional level. And to this end, our embassy in New Delhi, together with our consulate generals in Mumbai, Chennai, and Kolkata, stand ready to work with all of you, with the private sectors in India and colleagues, to welcome more Indian entrepreneurs to explore the potentials of Thailand and ASEAN community to promote our common economics prosperities. So I wish this summit a grand success. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Excellency. Thank you. Our last speaker for this opening session is Dr. Do Than Hai, the Deputy Chief of Mission of the Embassy of Vietnam.
Namaste, Excellency, Secretary is Viva Das Ganguly, distinguished Mr. Ajit Banerjee, Director General of the Confederation of Indian Industry, Excellencies, Ambassadors of ASEAN countries, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to be part of this event at the forum. And I would like to thank you, the Confederations of Indian Industries, and also the MEA, inviting me to speak at this forum. And I think that is a very timely and also relevant event, given that the business community had faced a lot of disruptions and difficulties during the pandemic. And I also see that there's a lot of need to reactivation, re-energize, and revitalizations of the business in the post-COVID time. And because business are looking for new source of supplies, innovations, of energies, anything else, so that they can keep on. And also it's very timely because we also see the very much improvement in the COVID situations in Southeast Asia. Also would like to commend India and also congratulate India for a very successful containment of the virus. And I think that is on the way to achieve the full victory over the pandemic. And at the same time, it provides very needed support for ASEAN countries, especially Vietnam, Malaysia, and a number of countries in the fight of COVID. And we are grateful for that. I think that truly shows the solidarity between Indian and ASEAN countries at the time a difficulty and uh, uh, an uncertainty that the support is needed. I did have a great pleasure and have good chance to visit some states recently with the ambassadors and delegations of Vietnam. We've been to Maharashtra, we've been to Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai. We've recently been to Leh, Ladakh, Andaman Nicobar together with the ASEAN ambassadors, and also to Kashmir, to Srinagar. And on the trips, we have a lot of occasions to engage with the Indian business leaders. And we found a very vibrant economic business community in localities. I think New Delhi is very interesting, but other provinces, other states, other localities also equally interesting. And we see a lot of, even about powerful business and a lot of bright, smart minds, and we see a lot of desire for innovations, for expanding the business network across the region. We see that people too eager for looking for investment and trade opportunity, and I think that is very good sign. We do see the other side, a very vibrant business community in India, and on that we also very optimistic about the post-COVID recovery across the country, and that will provide a huge opportunities for other countries in the region. And I think in the immediate and near futures, the rise of India will help the regions not only in terms of the fight against COVID, and but also to provide an engine for the regional growth. But during that interactions, we also see a lot of difficulties, and we'll see we have also heard complaints within the business community, because we see the surge in the number of the business frauds, and also there's a lot of complaints about the late payments, the trade dispute arise, and we also see that the business community complain about the trade barriers that we erected during the COVID time. I think that adds up to the difficulty they have. And also to talk with them and to engage with them, we also understand how difficult it is to set up a business, to invest in other country across the region, though the potential is huge. But in order to materialize any type of business ideas, any project is always very difficult. So on that way that we understand both sides of the coin, we understand the very potentials of the business community and also the environment we have. But at the same time, we understand there's a lot of barriers to the business to get back to normality, especially to get back to with the trading partners and to travel to other countries to meet the business partner, to deal with the trade dispute and to deal with the COVID situations. And in Vietnam embassy, we receive a lot of requests and also the complaints as well, and we set up different type of grouping so that we can help the business. And we do believe that the business community need help from the government at the time of crisis, because that change the whole policy and legal environment that the business is working on. So definitely we work with them and work out with them. Many things that we can do and many things we cannot. And I think that need the greater attentions and special interaction with the government so that they can change the legal or maybe the policy. And from that, I would like to propose some ideas so that we can work out what's to materialize the theme that the forum has set up. We have to leverage the business linkage so that we can get the opportunities in the post-COVID time. I think first and foremost, I think that we need to find a way to increase the COVID vaccine coverage in all the countries, especially in Southeast Asia, so that we could open up soon. So in this regard, I think the Indian have a very important role to play. because Indian is produced, I mean, because it's not large, but somehow the big quantity of the vaccines. So I think we hopefully we hope that India will share the vaccine soon, and we're happy for that. And we're looking forward to any type of provision of the vaccine to the region. And I think the second one that we all need to prepare for the post-COVID recovery, and we need to have plan to reactivate our links, especially the road links, the air links, and the maritime links. And of course, definitely the cyber is way there, but of course it's going to grow. But I think that we need a specific time frame, or we do it together. Or otherwise, each country will do with their own roadmap. And that definitely will lead to another thing, that whether we can, in the same page to contain the virus, or we compete with each other, so that that we undermine effort for the COVID recovery. On that way, that if we can, ASEAN and India can think collectively together, and how we gradually open up our economies and our link, our trade link, our investment links, opening up the border for the people to travel again safely and soundly. I think it's very important that we have that idea in mind. And I think that the third term, the third proposals, that I think that we need to work closely together with the business leaders and across the spectrum to understand the difficulties and the kind of bottlenecks that need to address the intervention from the government. Like I say, it's always easy saying than doing, but I think that it's better to know exactly what they need. Because enterprise business will have different kind of difficulties, and that they need help, especially at this moment. And I think that digitalization is part of the byproduct of the pandemic, but it actually is very helpful for the business. And there's some aspect of that we need to continue to provide the easier business environment for the business to operate. But on the other way, of course, we need the in-person meeting, not the thing that the only government can do, and we have to think about it together. First, the fourth is that we need to work with the business, as I also mentioned, that if any trade dispute, they see from up, and then we need the intervention from state rightly, because if the business do it together and they are being cheated, they get lost money, so they lose the confidence on each other. And I think it's not good. And it happened a lot. I mean, with the late payments and also the cheatings or fraudulence during the pandemic time. And I think that with the proper intervention on the part of the government, or any type of security, any type of insurance that the government would provide, that would be really helpful to the business community. And number 5, I think that because business already face a lot of difficulties, so we should not create any more problems for them. And I think that we should continue to remove the barriers for trade. We continue maybe working on the expanding the export market for our products, vice versa, and how to have the foster the business link, and also to create the basic infrastructures for the linkages. I think that would like to also commend the Indian government on providing the package. But I think there would be a lot of discussion on how to materialize this, because we have the policies of one thing and the implementations are another. And so we keep engaging with each other, definitely with the vision that we get the best thing for the business can operate, because the only private can mushroom and can develop, so that we have the economy to go back in good shape. And with that, I'd like to end my presentations, and thank you very much, Your Excellencies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dokanhai. With that, we come to the conclusion of the opening session, and I must thank our speakers, very, very distinguished speakers or ambassadors from Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Philippines, Thailand, and of course our DCM from Vietnam, and very, very important leadership, if I can say, significant leadership. And warm thanks to Ms. Bhagat Ganguly, the Secretary East of the MEA. This has been, as I mentioned, an outstanding session with wide-ranging views from and ideas from our Secretary as well as all the ambassadors. Central thought really has been that the Indo-ASEAN Business Connect would provide the perfect scaffolding, if one can say, for greater strategic ties between the ASEAN region and, of course, India. And we are indeed very greatly encouraged by the direction coming from all of you, and, of course, the Secretary in particular provided the framework for increasing the business-to-business and people-to-people connect. So we from the CII, we would really continue to be working in partnership with our government, with the Ministry of External Affairs in particular, with our Secretary to take this message forward and put these thoughts and suggestions really into a sort of a action plan. And really want to thank you, Madam Secretary, and each one of our Excellency, the ambassadors, for being very, very focused and for this giving us a very, very important and a very good start to this maiden event, which we are very certain to making this into a very key event in all your diaries in the years to come. So thank you once again, Excellencies. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us for this session. Thank you.